Okay guys, so Austin here with another video, and today I want to talk about welding hoods because it's like this weird, and face shields. When you get into welding, you'll figure out that there's guys who you gotta have the fanciest truck, you gotta have the fanciest and latest greatest equipment, and you gotta do all this stuff. And if you're making that money and that's how you want to spend it, super cool. But everyone's got to start somewhere. And most guys who make it long term, they figure out that you don't have to have the brightest and best equipment to get going. So let's talk welding hoods. This is just a basic one that I picked up. I picked it up on Amazon. It is just it's not auto darkening. It's just dark all the time. You could call it a pipeliner hood or just an old stick hood, whatever you want to call it. But I picked it up because it was like $60 on Amazon or $50, I can't remember which. It's probably about $60 now. I'll put a link to it in the description. The reason being is when I moved into my shop, before we were doing all mobile work strictly, so I always had my welding hood in my truck. When I first started doing mobile work, I was with a shop, I was really bad about, I was so used to having all my tools on my truck all the time that I'd get going, an hour down the road and then I'd go, oh, I forgot my welding hood at home, or oh, I forgot my grinder, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, now do I turn around because I'm halfway there and I'm going to be late and they're going to be, what the heck's going on? Or do I just stop into a big box store and buy one? So that was my problem one day. I forgot a hood because I was working in here with it the night before, and I decided I would go out and I would buy this thing so I could leave this in my truck or leave this in the shop, or if I had a helper come in and help me, they could have a hood too. It's not great. The band, it's like not super comfortable, but it's just a cheap band. If I had to rate it out of 5, I'd probably give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It does work good, and I do like it because it holds to your face. And there's not much arc flash, at least for me, that come up under it or over it or around the sides. And it's pretty good, flipping it down and everything like that. So this is one option. Don't worry about the status symbol. You got to have the best and brightest stuff out there. That doesn't mean you're a good welder. It just means you can buy an expensive hood. So this is just my backup though. This hood that I get, it is just the Lincoln Electric one. I think you can get it at Home Depot or Lowe's. I can't remember exactly where I bought it. It is auto darkening, has a number 9 through a number 13 shade with a grind mode. The band is fairly comfortable. It has a good flip down rate. This hood is 5 years old, and I've been using it ever since at all my production jobs, at 90% of my field work. I use this hood for. I think this one was about $120 at one of the big box stores, and they probably all have the same one, just with like a different wrap on it. This was the second hood I ever bought. When I was going through welding school, I did have a just Harbor Freight one, and that worked fine. This was actually like a little gift to myself when I graduated the welding school. I'm gonna go buy me a nice hood. Even though I have mostly Hobarts, I am actually a Lincoln Electric guy. They're my favorite welders. But again, I don't have the money, or I don't see sense in spending the big dollars to go spend $2,000 more to have a digital readout on my welding machine versus my Hobart, where it's just the old-fashioned dials. The other reason I really, really like this hood and something that's important is I can go to Harbor Freight and get the Chicago Electric welding lenses. These lenses are, I think they're not going to tell me. Oh, you know what? I think my hood tells me. Okay, yep. No, they don't. The other cool thing about it is, though, is it tells you the replacement part numbers on the inside. So if you do get one of these, take a picture of that or don't rip it off. Again, this one's 5-year-old. I'm pretty good on equipment, but something to keep around. I like this hood. The lenses, you'll get some like speed glasses have like a weird shape and you gotta order it like directly from there, unless your local welding shop happens to supply it. But me, I like to have a clean hood, and I have used the cleaners. Like I know a lot of guys use Windex and machine polish, stuff like that, to actually clean these lenses. It does work, but these are so cheap at Harbor Freight and they're fit right in. You can cut these if you buy the bigger size or whatever. You can cut them with a razor blade. That's what I had to do with my old hood in college, or trade school, whatever I guess you want to call it. But these ones fit right in for this hood, and they're cheap. They're like a couple dollars a pack. I usually, when I go in there, buy every pack they have, and I just set them up on the bench, because I like to have a really clean one, especially when I'm TIG welding. I like to be able to see what I'm doing really, really well. So this hood, honestly, I will give it a 5 out of 5. The only hood I've ever wore that I liked better than this, and I'm, sounding redundant here, I guess, but it was a Miller hood, but it had the cool band on it, and I know you can probably just buy one of the cool bands and put it on this, but I loved that it just collected air from behind your head and blew it down over your head, and it really helped it from fogging up the lens or your safety glasses. Some plants you go to, you gotta have safety glasses on the whole time, even under your hood. The other good thing about this, again, it's 5 years old. It sits in the sun most of the time. It does have a solar panel to recharge the battery. I've never had to change the battery in this. I don't know how common that is for other guys, but I thought that was pretty good. I did work with one guy who he had a Miller welder with the unit that it had the air filtration that you put on your back, and it blew fresh air, so you were breathing that all the time. But he went through batteries all the time with his. I don't know if it was just like a defected one, and he said he spent over $1,000 on that thing, but he was also one of them guys that I feel like he thought more expensive was better, so he might have just been upcharging it to brag. I don't know. The other thing I want to talk about was one of my favorite things I ever bought. Again, I think that Lincoln hood was like 120 bucks, but this is my Jackson face shield. It's wider and it has this more durable plastic on the outside than just your traditional face shield, which is just the guard. There's plenty of room for it when I have it on, especially if I have my respirator on. It still comes down good, and it does cover up under my chin. I wasn't sure how much I was gonna like it. I actually bought it because someone told me it will be better. It will help get grinding dust up your nose. You'll still get some, but you don't get as much versus just traditional safety glasses. And it does have the same value in the lens, so if something breaks, it's probably not gonna shatter this thing and go into my eye. Super great hood. I swear I only bought it for 20 bucks. Maybe it's more expensive now. If it's still 20 bucks, I'm probably gonna buy a few more of them. And I just like it when people come over and they help me. If they're using a cutoff wheel on the grinder and they just have safety glasses on, there's nothing protecting their face. If that disc breaks and goes in their cheek or into their forehead, this would. I know a lot of places who still want you to use safety glasses under these, and sometimes I get into situations where I do too. But I do like this hood because I've had to use just traditional safety glasses before, and I never realized how much stuff hits my face as you're cutting, whereas this doesn't. My only complaint, I would give this a 5 out of 5, with my only complaint being that is sometimes the band on my head feels just like the band on my head on my Lincoln hood. This band feels different. I think it's because it's a little cheaper. But so I will be getting ready to weld. I'll throw my hood down, and it's just like clockwork. I'll go to hit it, and I'm like, oh, I just have my face shield on. So, which actually for 20 bucks, it does have a really nice headband on it too. So I would highly recommend you get one of these. And that's the original plastic on it. I haven't replaced it, but I did look it up at one time, and I'll throw the link up there too, maybe to both of the welding lens cover replacements. It's just super cheap. So if you're just getting in and you're starting out, I do like this hood because it's kind of, well, you can kind of see that the face of it is shorter. So you can kind of get into areas a little more better with that. But for pretty much everything, I'll use my Lincoln hood. and then my Jackson hood for all my grinding, cutting, all that kind of stuff. Especially when I'm using the Evolution chop saw, because it isn't like fine grinding dust that comes out. You know, it's like these little chip things. You know, it's these little chip things. And I don't know. Other guys might be tougher than me. I feel when these things hit my face and they're hot. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a wuss, but I like to have that full face shield on me to protect my face. Because, you know, something might happen. Maybe I don't want to weld anymore. And this thing has to be my moneymaker. So, anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Just a quick little one. Get a video out there for a Wednesday about... You know, I'm trying to dive a little more deeper on good equipment to buy when you're just starting out. You could buy that most expensive hood, or at least you could at the time, and that Jackson face shield, and probably not spend 150 bucks. And I know most welders I know have spent... Let me back up a little bit. When I was just starting out in welding school, most of the welders that were in that school with me spent $200 or more on their hood. They all showed up with either a Lincoln or a Miller. Most guys had like I can't remember what the Millers were, but I remember the Lincolns, like they all showed up with Lincoln Viking hoods, which are pretty expensive. And a couple kids even had speed glasses. And it was like they had never welded before. They just probably got on Google and said, best welding helmet, or their uncle, you know, swore up and down about being a Lincoln Electric guy or a Miller guy or a Speed Glass or whatever. And, you know, they just went out and bought the best and probably wasted money. Me, I just went down to Harbor Freight and spent 40 bucks on one, and it worked just as well. There were me and like two other people who, yeah, they spent 40 bucks on a Harbor Freight hood. And, well, I graduated at the top of my class, so the hoods can't make you that much better. But anyways... You know, you could get probably for $200, maybe $250, two hoods and two face shields that are probably going to last you the first few years. And then my rule of thumb on buying expensive tools is this. I'll go buy the first one cheap from Harbor Freight or wherever. And if by the time I wear out or break that one, I probably use that tool enough to justify going and getting a better one. That was my idea with the Lincoln hood. I said it's a cheaper Lincoln hood. If it breaks in a year, I probably use it enough to justify going and getting a better one. It's been 5 years, I'm still using it. Same thing with my drills. I had cheap drills to begin with, and it burnt up. And then I said, I use this thing all the time. I think that justifies me going and getting a DeWalt. Same thing, that's kind of where I'm at with my... Hobart 210 MVP MIG welder. It was a bigger one, but I wanted the big ones with their own carts. And I said, I'm gonna buy this, and by the time I'm MIG welding enough to wear out that should justify me going and getting a bigger machine. So that's kind of how I look at it. I don't know, a lot of guys are the buy once, cry once kind of guys, but especially if you don't know what you're gonna be doing or what tools of the trade you need, then I would say buy a cheaper one or a more budget friendly, because I don't really want to use the word cheap, because I wouldn't say that's a cheap welder in terms of weldability. I wouldn't say that's a cheap hood in terms of weldability. I just say they were a more economy brand. Same thing with the chop saw. I just started with a regular abrasive chop saw, and then eventually I was like, you know what? I'm just ruining this thing. Like I had put like 2 cords on it trying to keep it going, and it was a hand-me-down. It was used when I bought it, and I heard those were way more accurate and better, so I just bought that. And well, it's been great. So anyways, guys, if you're like this video, please hit that like button, smash the subscribe button, ring the bell, get notified when I post a new video every Wednesday. The channel's growing. I'm super happy with that, super proud. Hopefully by the time this video airs, we'll be north of 650 subscribers. But if by the time this video airs and I'm not, hit the subscribe button. And if the time this video airs and I am, hit the subscribe button because my goal is to be up over 1,000 subscribers. But anyways, guys, until the next video, remember, if you're not burning, you're not learning. I'll see you on the next one.